Last time on Fourth Wing. The author skipped more time when apparently nothing happened. Violet spent all her time training with Xaden instead of going to her actual classes. As part of some kind of skill challenge, Violet and her squad of people with random superpowers broke into her mother's office and snagged a super important map. They won the contest. Violet and company won a trip to a fortress on the front lines where she got to hang out with her sister. She also saw Rhiannon's family, but they didn't matter, so they didn't get faces or lines. Finally, Griffin's attacked, but rather than having an exciting scene, Xaden drugged Violet away. Xaden gave Violet a saddle, which apparently would have been fine this whole time. They went to go play a game of Capture the Flag, which was never built up until now. And during the game, friend Liam was endangered and Violet saved him, gained her powers, and murdered homicidal Jack, doing more in 10 minutes than she has this entire book.
There are ferrets loose. You might see them. Don't actually know where they are right now, but hopefully nowhere bad. And we are on to chapter 29. I would just like it known that we are this far in the book before we got an actual lengthy, exciting dragon flying scene in the book with this cover. Look at the dragons. Look at the wind. It says fly or die on the cover. It's not two sexy people embracing, which is what it should be, because this book doesn't actually care about the dragons. They are an afterthought. Anybody who's coming into this book and doesn't know that it is first and foremost a romance, I don't know, am I weird? I don't see anywhere on this cover that it says that this is a fantasy romance. Most brutally addictive fantasy I've read in a decade. Yeah, no, doesn't say it anywhere on this cover that this is a fantasy romance. I have a fantasy romance book. Let me grab it. Look at this. This is my book, The Wolf and the Hawk. Look what it says right under the title. Now, I'm not saying that every single fantasy romance has to have a fantasy romance on the title, but I felt it was important to me that my readers knew what to expect. This is a fantasy romance, so the romance is going to be a major part of the book. This is just a regular fantasy. See? Romance is not a major part of this book. I don't know why we can't just, be honest with people, because I could definitely see people just looking for an exciting new fantasy with dragons, picking up this book, and then being horribly disappointed because it's just another bog standard romantasy. And it also makes me a little sad because there's probably people out there who have not read widely in the fantasy genre and have mostly read romantasy because it's what's popular, it's what's being fed to them on the algorithms and by book talk and everything. And is it possible that there are some young people out there who think that this is what fantasy books are? And if they are not big romance readers themselves, they might actually be turned away from fantasy books. They might look at a fantasy book like mine and go, oh, well, it's just going to be another romance, even though I will put it on the cover if it's a fantasy romance. Put it right there on the cover. Don't be embarrassed if you wrote a romance. Just let people know that it is one. All right, once again, I have been stalling, but let's get to chapter 29. The death of a cadet is an inevitable yet acceptable tragedy. No kidding. This process thins the herd. Oh yeah, it's very thin. Leaving only the strongest riders. That is not true. And as long as the cause of death does not break the codex, any rider involved in extinguishing another's life shall not be punished. Major Effendra's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant. Yeah, that is true. Those are your dumb rules for your dragon school, correct. And we have skipped ahead. Yes, we have. As I feared, she just killed a guy and manifested her lightning powers. We don't get to know the rest of the game or how it plays out. We just skip ahead to the end where they all land and other people have done things when she wasn't paying attention and probably won the game. I wish this author would stop skipping the endings of scenes that are exciting and interesting. She's really upset about having killed Jack, which would be in character for her because one of her prevailing traits is that she doesn't want to have to kill. But she was, did she know for a fact when she shoved that orange into his mouth that it wasn't going to kill him? Because it definitely could have. So she was ready to kill him then. Fun fact, I read tarot. You guys probably know. It's not really a fun fact. And Dane shows up and he's like, that was you with your lightning strike that took down the tower. And that reminds me of the Tower card, which is famously not one of the better cards to get in a reading. Everybody thinks like, ooh, death, oh, that's the worst card to get. And Tower isn't necessarily the worst, but it's usually not good. It means like upheaval. It means like a change that is going to be really abrupt and uncomfortable a lot of the time. So perhaps fitting for this moment. I don't know if the author did this intentionally, but fitting for this moment because like she's had a big change and it's made her very uncomfortable. I don't know what she expected. Like, I get it. She didn't want to kill people, even people who have tried to kill her on numerous occasions. But she's really upset about having killed Jack, which is fine. I do think that your character should have a reaction about the first time that they kill another person. But at the same time, as she's coming into her own in this dragon school and feeling really proud of herself, are her expectations that she's never going to have to kill anyone when she goes to war? Like, is she fully sitting here thinking, well, yeah, I'm going to have to go to the front lines, but I'm just going to avoid... She's riding on a dragon, and it's very clear that she's a warrior. She's being trained in combat. She's riding on a dragon. She's been to a fortress where griffins attacked, and those griffins have riders. Is it just because she doesn't want to kill anyone she knows, even if that person that she knows is homicidal? Or was she like fully expecting that she was somehow going to go to war on her dragon and never have to kill anybody, just get away with never killing anybody somehow? The rivalry between these two boys is just hilarious. So Dane gets to her first, and he's comforting her. And then Xaden shows up and shoves him out of the way like, you're comforting her wrong. Let me comfort her instead. It's like, boys, you're both pretty. So she's like really pissed because she wanted a Signet power that was like useful in mundane life like so many other people's, and instead she got a lightning one, which like that seems pretty much straightforward. That is for battle. But like, I don't know if you've invented electrical machinery yet, lightning could be useful for a lot of other things. Dane tries to step in again and be comforting, and Xaden once again tells him to shut the fuck up because Dane is not comforting her the right way. You have to comfort her exactly this way, or else it doesn't work. Comforting her this way is coddling her. Comforting her my way is not coddling her, somehow. Even though, like, really the only difference is that Dane is like, hey, you don't have to use your power if you don't want to. And Xander is like, no, you are a murder machine, and that is, you just have to accept that. That is helping her grow.
Big energy gal, digging the Zan man. Some guys are just cooler, you know?
Xaden says, this isn't primary school, this is war. And this is the first time I've heard of primary school in this world. Xaden says, because of course the main character has to be the best at everything, you're not just a weapon, Sorrendale, you're the weapon. Apparently, like, nobody has ever manifested a better attacking ability before, I guess, the way he's talking. So just to be clear, Xaden's side of this is murder is good, actually, and she just needs to get over it. And his is the side that we're supposed to side with. She's too soft for not wanting to kill people, which, yes, I mean, it's Jack. He was homicidal, but their whole world is stupid, so... Was she legitimately expecting to go to war without having to kill people? Because we're supposed to be like, yeah, Xaden is the correct one, and stupid old Dane who's like, hey, you can take it slow, you don't gotta just, like, start murdering people right away. He's the bad one who we don't want to listen to. Dane goes, hey, I can see you're upset and maybe like you need a minute to like process this, and I'm not gonna make you feel like you have to now go out and use your powers right away. And Xaden is like, no, you are the best murderer we have. And Xaden is the good one. Even her dragon says that her Signet is like the best hope that they have in the battle. So apparently, like, it's super ultra rare. Like, if it's so rare to have an ability that is so obviously just for combat, maybe that's a sign that your incredibly warlike murder society is stupid? Have I gotten rid of, like, sudden last minute abilities or powers? I might have done that. Which is too bad, because I feel like maybe this might qualify, but it was built up, so it might not actually qualify. It's just that, of course, she gets, like, the most powerful one. Yeah, I think I got rid of it for this bingo card. I should probably put it back on. especially for books like this. But anyway, I mean, imagine it. Imagine her and her boyfriend out on the battlefield. He cloaks the entire battlefield in shadow, and then she calls lightning on all of their enemies, so all the enemy army sees is flashes before they fall dead from the sky. Also, Rhiannon saw her stop time, or essentially blink, because Rhiannon was also flying to try and save Liam, and they were all at the wrong angle to do it. And then she saw the main character just like blink forward and have Liam. Once again, the main character has to come to terms with the fact that she just doesn't tell people things. And she and Rhiannon have had this conversation before where Rhiannon's been like, hey, you've been keeping things from me. And Dane's number one complaint is that she never tells him anything, and she always scolds him for that. She's like, you're just supposed to intuit things about me. Why do I have to tell you things? That's the nice thing about Xaden, because he's in her head. She doesn't ever have to tell him anything. He just always automatically knows. It's the fantasy of not having to talk to your partner. Why is that a fantasy? One of my favorite things about my relationship with my husband is that we are very open and talk to each other about things all the time. She just lies and says, Taryn is really fast. Okay? And Rhiannon believes it. Hi, baby girl. Hi, oh, it's a tandy day. It's a tandy day. It's a tandy day. It's a vicious attack tandy. We will go on the battlefield, won't we, Tandy? Whee! Blankets. The minute I said her name, she like leaped up here. Like, yes, it is a tandy day. Thank you for noticing. Oh no, Nigel. Nigel's sitting next to me and he's about to get tendied. She tried to jump up here and Nigel just gave her the dad glare and she got back down and she's playing with Moraine now instead. And now we time jump. Rhiannon takes her back to her room and we time jump to her training at throwing her daggers. I still don't understand why archery is like never ever mentioned. Because yeah, she can throw daggers and that gives her a little bit of range, but you can't throw a dagger from a dragon's back with super great accuracy, I feel like, over any like length of range, if you will. But archery, maybe. Yes, there's a lot of wind to compensate for up there, but once again, we haven't even talked about whether the air is super thin or not. And we're not interested in dealing with that. So like you could just hand wave it away by being like, we're all trained to compensate for the airflow up in the sky with our archery. Archery has not once, one single time been mentioned. So I think we've had the heart event with our character where she has been hardened because now she's throwing her daggers. Her target is like human shaped and she's throwing all of her daggers at the throat and she's like, well, if I have a killing ability, what's the point in trying to wound anymore? I might as well just kill. Xaden comes in to find her in her little murder practice sesh, of course. She is in her dressing gown, but I can only assume she's still wearing her armor underneath it because that's what she did before. Oh, now she's not wearing her armor under her dressing gown because no one would be silly enough to attack her now. She shouldn't have been wearing it before. That was so stupid. That was the dumbest plot point. Why was she wearing armor underneath her dressing gown to bed? They're just being sexually tense at each other. Again. He's like even more turned on by her now that she has a killing ability. And I feel like that is an enormous red flag.
Ma'am, more like pie in the sky.
All these characters are constantly folding their arms across their chest. It happens a lot. It's one of this author's favorite gestures for the characters to do. And I'm just going to reiterate that we don't need across their chest. He folded his arms. You know what he's doing. You know what he's doing. We don't fold our arms across anything else. Hello again, Tendy Bear. Hello. Have you come to help me read this book? What do you think, Tindy? What do you think? I think I want to try and jump to the table. No, you shall not. You shall not. You shall not. Come here, you. This would mean a lot more if it was true for any particular length of time. She's like, why did I get a killing power? I always thought that maybe I'd get a healing power like my brother and be able to put things back together. And he's like, you're different. You're different from the rest of us because you're just so special. And he says, you wanted a quiet life full of books and facts. You wanted to record battles, not be in them. It's not the same for you. And it's like, that would be more convincing if we hadn't read how quickly she decided that actually she wanted to be here. At the very beginning, sure, she didn't want to be here. But she got over that so fast and started hating on Dane anytime that he suggested he had a way for her to get out. Like, so soon into this book. So he's like, you never wanted to be here. That's why you're so special. That's why you're so different. And I'm like, No. And they kiss, and that's the end of the chapter. And of course, I just peeked ahead at the next chapter, and we don't skip here. If this was any other scene that started some action in the previous chapter, we would skip ahead to like 3 days later. But here, because it's a romance scene, because it's the thing we care about, we're gonna watch it. But anyway, he's really turned on now that she has murder powers, so that's not alarming at all. Probably do at least one more chapter for today, but I might put the ferrets away first. See you then. All right, we are back. Put the ferrets away, did some chores. Nigel is here. There he is. You don't gotta leave. You just gotta make some space for Mom. We're back. All right, let's get back to the sexy times. I wonder if we're gonna get like real sexy times this time, and how much of this chapter is that gonna be? It is a fairly sizable chapter, so pray for me. As usual, I know that I have asexual viewers who do not want sexy times described. So like if I have to describe anything in any detail, I will put Mr. Yuck on the screen. But maybe we don't have to worry about it. Let's find out. Though not forbidden, cadets are strongly encouraged not to develop strong romantic attachments while studying in the quadrant for the efficiency of the unit. For the efficiency of the unit? Nothing about this is efficient. Y'all gonna be like, oh, well, you can murder each other, but please don't form any romantic attachments. Like, what is this universe? And also, you have these people running around out here, like, you let dragons, who are a couple, who you know that, like, if a couple of dragons pick riders, those riders are, like, super duper bonded for the rest of their dragons' lives, whether they like it or not. But you're gonna sit here and be like, but maybe don't form romantic attachments. You know, it's for the unit. Like, what?
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
If you want a world that feels whole and real, you have to figure out reasons for things that come from the world, that would have evolved naturally in the world that you are creating. He does the thing. He does the thing. The thing all you allosexual girlies go crazy for, where he grabs her wrists in one hand and pins them above her head like that. First he smacks her against the door and then pins her hands above her head. And like, I can just hear the girlies screaming. So she decides that what she wants to do with all the emotions that she has after committing murder is have sex. I mean, why not? Might as well. Can the dragons sense it when you guys are boning? I need to know. For science. Feels like they might go all the way this time. Both of them are really into it. They're doing it up against the door. Like, they haven't quite started doing it yet, but they're doing this heavy petting up against the door. And like, I don't know about you, but most doors I have encountered have a little bit of wiggle. So like, the entire hallway is hearing this door like rattle suggestively. By the way, this is the second time they've done exactly the same thing. I think this author has a favorite type of sexy scene. Previously, when they were kissing, he had her up against the wall and she wrapped her legs around him, and now they're doing the exact same thing. He moved her to being bent over the desk. Not bent over like with her butt to him, bent over so that they can keep kissing, so like backwards. You better be careful. This girl has like delicate joints, supposedly. Oh, we have a characters knock everything off of a desk to have sex on the desk moment. Gotta have that. I should have a Smexy Times scene checklist. Comment below what you think should be on my checklist. It can be an addition to the bingo card. These two keep going back and forth. They will give like explicit consent, and then the other one will be like, but did you really? And I'm like, he keeps being like, unless you really don't want me. And she keeps like telling him at this point. She's telling him to his dumb face, yes, get over here. I want to jump your bones. And he's still like repeatedly breaking off to be like, do you? And it's good to check in with your partner, but she has been nothing but hugely enthusiastic, both physically and verbally. So I don't know how he's not getting it. He tastes like mint and Zayden. How descriptive. This guy must be popping gum like every other minute, because he's always very minty fresh.
Nothing gets to you, staying fresh, staying cool, with mental fresh and full of life.
They're still kissing, by the way, but it's very clear we are leading on to something else. I'm reading a raunchy sex scene.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah. After they check in that they're really lusting after each other 8 million more times, he finally gives her a hand job, which I think is going to be the first activity. Potentially she's going to actually get to have more than one orgasm, which some authors do forget about. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty average sex scene. If you're looking for anything special, I don't think this is going to do it for you, but if you want something, you know, you want old reliable, like this sex scene follows the beats, uses the language. Some of the language squicks me out, and not just because I'm ace, but because, like, some of the language that people put into sex scenes is just weird to me. I'm not gonna read it. There's just some phrases that I'm like, is that sexy? Is that sexy really? Like, if you think about it. I don't think it is, actually. I think it's kind of gross. But yes, she gets her first orgasm after he gives her a handy. They're also moaning each other's names a lot. Like, that's like the go-to. If they need to moan something, it's each other's names. Also, this author gets very descriptive about tongue kissing, and I'm not about that, personally. It just, slimy and gross. Just listening to it described, slimy and gross. Maybe not for other people, but that's what it comes across to me. Also, a lot of moaning and groaning. He moans, I groan, it's just back and forth. Like, we need some other words to describe sexy sounds besides moan and groan. It's very repetitive. We have a little nod here to the birth control of whatever this fantasy world is. She just says, I take the fertility suppressant, which we've never mentioned before this, her doing, but trust us, she's not going to get pregnant from this, don't worry. She's totally been taking herbs TM that are the magical world's equivalent of the birth control pill. I don't have a problem with that, honestly. I kind of like to do that. I've done it in fan fiction mostly, because my characters don't tend to have too much sex in my other books, but I think I've done it in my book as well. I'm fine with your fantasy birth control. It's just like, she didn't mention ever doing it until, like, he's about to put it in. Fortunately, the best thing about fantasy birth control is that it has 0 side effects and it always works. I'm kind of hoping that this sex scene ends with her accidentally striking him with a bolt of lightning. But probably her electric powers are just going to turn out to, like, intensify the experience for both of them. They're up against her armoire now. In case you're wondering, this author definitely has a thing for, like, him being upright and her, like, wrapped, with her legs wrapped around him. Now the armoire is getting in on the action. The armoire door groans. Oh, they broke it. They broke the armoire. They banged too hard and broke her armoire. The bed is right there. They're in her room, but we gotta break her other furniture first, I guess. He decides that they've broken the armoire. He's not taking her to the bed. No. He's got her up against the window now, which seems like such a bad idea. At least that's my understanding of what's happening. You broke the armoire. What makes you think you're not going to break the glass and send her flying out the window? Which would be hilarious. But I don't think it's going to be how this sex scene goes down. Nigel is giving me such a look right now. He's like, Mother, how could you suggest such a thing? What is that look for? Why are you giving me that look? Yeah, she lit the curtains on fire with her power as they do it. And now they're on the floor. They're still going. He has been inside of her for a very long time. The man has stamina, what can I say? He's been there for 3 position changes and still hasn't finished yet. Is this chapter just all gonna be sex? It's a long chapter. They're still going. But I guess we know why this couldn't be YA, because, like, they're still going. All of her classmates are now gonna know when she's doing it, because thunder and lightning are happening outside because of her. They're gonna be like, oh, great. Violet and Xaden are going at it again. Thunder and lightning with no rain. She's had a second orgasm and he is still going. Like, what kind of magical herbs is this man taking? There, he finally does it. He finally finishes. When he finishes, he also, like, sets off his powers and, like, his shadows, like, destroy stuff in her room. This has got to be so noisy for everyone else. No one is wondering what is going on in this room. You guys are the most inconsiderate sex havers. Other people are probably trying to, like, go about their day. Now that they're, you know, coming down off of the high of the best sex either of them have ever had, she's noticing all of his bad boy scars. She's all like, oh, what happened? This is dumb. This is so dumb. So apparently, Xaden is responsible for every other rebellion child. Like, if any of them betray, he has to die. So he is personally in charge of making sure none of these people ever betray the Empire. And he has all of these scars as a reminder. I don't think you need a reminder. But, like, that's so dumb. That is so dumb. I just cannot express to you how much that would not work. One dude who's in his 20s, mind you, one 5-year-old man is in charge of all, like, hundreds, over 100, I forget what the number was. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, 107. There's 107 kids of the rebellion. Some of them haven't even aged into the dragon program yet. Like, how's that supposed to work? Is he got to stay at the school forever, supervising these kids, lest any of them get sick of being treated like crap by everyone around them and decide to just be a little bit rebellious? Sense. Please make it. I am, like, out of words to describe how ridiculous I find this plot point. It's just to make your hot enemy lover guy even more, like, dark and broody because he's taken on all this responsibility. But, like, how does that even work? How on earth is he personally, Mr. Friendly over here, supposed to make sure that none of these kids ever betray the Empire, ever step out of line? Like, he is a one-man babysitter to 107 people? Some of those people probably don't even like him. Some of those people would probably act out just to get him killed. It's like, what is the bingo card for this bullshit? Is there one? Terrible plans. I'm giving it terrible plans because this is a terrible plan on the part of everyone in charge of this entire society. We could have another bingo if we get fat equals evil, but much like Lightlark, I think it was Lightlark, nobody here is fat. 0 fat people. So we can't say fat equals evil because there aren't any. They're both like, yeah, we need to keep this a secret. No one must know about our relationship. And I'm like, you two just had the loudest sex in the history of the world. People know. People in other countries know. Unless they think a very localized tornado happened in just your room when Xaden also happened to be there. So they've just done it, and now they're cuddling in bed. She says that he's sweet for wanting to, like, look out for them. And he says, I'm not sweet. Please don't mistake any part of me for soft or kind. That's toxic masculinity, my dude. You need to, like, reevaluate. That will get you hurt, and whatever you do, don't fall for me. Sir, you have been pining after her since day one, and both of you have been pining after each other for quite some time. And you just had, as I mentioned, the world's loudest sex. So, like, I think that ship may have sailed. All right, we are, let's see, how many pages did we get for that sex scene, including the cuddling at the end? Almost 10 pages of sex, plus cuddling. Now we time jump to the morning, and Xaden is gone. He left her flowers, though. They're violets, because her name is Violet. Do you get it? People with flower names, do people give you the flower that you're named after? Does that happen in real life? And do you get sick of it, or do you find it charming? Please answer me below. I need to know this. He's like, don't fall for me. Here's flowers. She says she dresses and pins her hair up quickly, and I'm like, you destroyed your dresser, your armoire, though. So what you mean is I pick my clothing out of the rubble of my armoire and find something that we haven't destroyed with our, just the world's noisiest lovemaking. This professor is appropriately dumb. Professor Carr, who's the one who teaches, like, the magic class, shows up at her door right away in the morning, and he's like, we need to get your powers under control because, like, apparently you summon lightning when you sleep. And all he would have to do is ask any of the other students in the vicinity to figure out why she actually summoned lightning. Also, wouldn't it have been hilarious if he came to her in the night? Like, he was fine waiting until morning, even though she could have burned the whole place down. But I really wanted him to burst in the door while they were in the middle of, doing it, and just be like, oh, never mind. So he takes her out to the flight field where her dragon is waiting, already saddled, because the dragon can put his own saddle on, lest we, have to have our main character do anything dragon related. So the professor takes her to the top of a mountain to practice her powers in a place where she can't light anything on fire. Even this brutal professor guy's got to blow some smoke up her ass. The fact that you bonded Taryn makes you and Ryerson the most coveted pair of writers the kingdom has seen for far too long. Like every heroine in this type of books who has magical power, her magic is derived from her emotions. So obviously when she has strong emotions, her magic shows up. So as you'd expect, as you can certainly predict, we don't even have a moment where she's like trying to get into an emotional state and she decides that she doesn't want to think about her friend almost being killed and then decide to think about the her and Xaden thing. No, we just go straight to the her and Xaden thing. And of course she's communicating psychically with Xaden, so he's sending her images of their sexy times last night. Is she gonna have to get horny every time she wants to wield her magic? That seems a little inconvenient for the battlefield, honestly. She's already feeling fine about her powers now. She calls lightning twice, and she says, well, look at that, I'm a certified badass. So one really good session with Xaden, and she's already decided that actually her power is pretty cool, and she's no longer worried about her being a weapon. So she calls lightning 5 more times before she gets worn out, but her aim sucks, so she doesn't hit the target yet. But we've almost got to have something that she's, like, not good at. And that's the end of that chapter. Oh boy. I'm probably going to be done for the day because that chapter may have sapped all of my will to live. The next chapter looks like it's going to be super long. Okay, not super long, but still pretty long. So I will catch you again for the next one. We're getting so close. Pretty soon I will actually be able to edit these and have them available to you. So exciting. But I'll see you for the next chapter.
Hello. It's me, Julian Greystoke, and usually I take this time to talk about how I'm a developmental editor and how you can hire me to developmentally edit your book. But today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. You see, as of editing this video, it is the holiday season, when YouTube pays out the best to its creators. But we're about to hit that after-holiday crash, where advertisers stop advertising on YouTube, and YouTube stops paying really anything, and it wasn't paying a lot to begin with. So that's a time when us creators could really use your help, and there are a couple of ways that you can help me out. For example, I've got a Patreon where you can hop on over there, where you get to do cool stuff like your votes, counting for 2 when we do read-along votes, and also you get to have a sneak peek into any of my upcoming books and a little bit more of a look at my process. My patrons help me decide on covers, plus there's other cool rewards happening over on Patreon. But if you're not really into Patreon, I know some people aren't, I also have a Ko-fi where you can do one-time donations and support me over there. And of course, if you can't support me monetarily right now, that's okay. Just remember that one of the best ways that you can help out YouTube creators is clicking like, leaving a comment, and best of all, sharing it with other people. Another way to help, which is really great for these read-alongs, is to continue watching other things on my channel. So find something else you want to watch here. That tells YouTube that my channel has value and people want to hang out here. Anyway, I'm sorry for taking up your time. Let's get back to this silly, silly dragon book.
Hello, it has been a while since I read from this book. I'm sorry everything is going so slow, but I had a huge, giant event that I was at for my LARP that I was leading in. So I basically had to put all my energy into that. But we're back, and the good news is my hair is finally starting to look reasonable. It's finally, yes Nigel, it's finally starting to look like the hairdo that I wanted when I set out on this hair journey. It's got everything I want. It's like longer at the top for styling, and the sides and back are bare because I don't like my own hair touching me. I'm weird. All right, chapter 31. I don't really remember what was happening except for they had really loud sex. That's the only thing that left an impression on me. And to be fair, that's probably the only thing that was supposed to leave an impression on me. I gotta find out how many chapters are left though. Okay, 37. So we're on 31, and there are 37 chapters. Chapter 37? Is that actually correct? Nope, 38. 39. I just need to figure it out, like when I'm going to be doing, when I need to get all my cosplay. Nigel, do not destroy Mummy's chair. July 1st, the anniversary of the Battle of Authorial is hereby proclaimed Reunification Day and will be celebrated throughout Navarre on this date every year to honor the lives of those lost during the war, to save our kingdom from separatists and those saved by the Treaty of Authorial. That's a run-on sentence of a royal proclamation by King Tory the Wise. Good old King Tory. So she's back in her room trying to salvage her clothing from the wardrobe that they smashed into such smithereens that there's no saving it. Their sex was that powerful. If you're not having sex that breaks furniture, what are you even doing with your life? Oh, their sex was so good, they also started several trees on fire in separate areas of the barracks. My mouth purses, thinking back to the first strike I wielded. So not only is her mouth pursing of its own accord, her mouth is also thinking back to the first strike. That sentence just needs a revamp, quite frankly. I nervously run my tongue over my lower lip. That's a nervous tick, is it? Sorry to everyone I just traumatized by imitating that behavior. So she asks where he was at one point when she found him in the courtyard. I don't remember that scene, but he says he was at Athbin, and he's like, I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that I was there. So in their wild, crazy sex, the crazy random happenstances, as we all know, have been building up and building up as this book progresses, to the point where things are just handed to the main character by fate. She might have a magical power that draws things to her at this point. So she's picking up a book that they discarded on the floor in their passionate lovemaking, and the binding is busted, and there's something just sticking out of the binding that she conveniently finds, all because their sexy times knocked this book on the floor. It's her father's handwriting. So the note basically says, remember folklore. Folklore is important, and I know you'll make the right choice when the time comes. Thanks, vague dad letter that I totally never would have even found unless I was having crazy sex with my boyfriend on my desk. As an excuse, she says that her dad got more cryptic after their brother died. So we're talking about the various fables in this book that she found. One of the purposes of the fables is to teach children about the dangers of too much power. No one wants to become a venin. They're the monsters that hide beneath our beds when we have nightmares. Do you think that hot boy is going to turn out to be a venin? I don't know. Could be. I could see it. Okay. So they go on talking about the books. Every fable in this book is about how too much power corrupts. So maybe he felt someone in leadership was corrupt. I glance up at Xaden and joke, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if General Melgren ripped his mask off one day and revealed a terrifying venin. Have we really met General Melgren? I feel like we haven't really. Then they have a little back and forth about how, like, if they keep having sex, she's totally gonna fall for him, even though he told her not to, because we have to do that whole thing, like, stay away from me, Bella, but also I will be around you all the time. And he's like, you don't know me, really. You're not my real dad. She has what I assume is meant to be a girl boss moment, where she's like, you don't get to decide if I fall for you. You're not in charge of my heart. You're also not my real dad. And then he, like, backs off. And then we have a time skip. So we just had this whole several page long conversation about fables, then sexy talk, and more pining, and now we're just off to something else. Who the fuck is Sawyer? Did you hear that King Tory is celebrating Reunification Day here? Sawyer asks as he swings a leg over the bench beside me at lunch. These side characters are so nothing. It's been a month, by the way, now, again. We just skipped ahead a month, so presumably Hot Boy has just been avoiding her for an entire month. They, like, spar together and almost have sex, but then don't. So the entire scene of them talking about Graduation Day and Reunification Day coming up is actually just a backdrop for her and Xaden dirty talking to each other in their heads. And I don't need that. Please stop.
Stop it!
And then we time skip again. So glad we got that scene. She keeps talking about how Xaden's going to be, after graduation, Xaden will be sent away to the front, and, like, how far away is he going to be, and blah, blah, blah. Two things, your two dragons can't be far away from each other. We haven't even heard anything from the dragons this chapter. They don't matter, ultimately, I don't think, really. But also, he is in charge, he is personally in charge of making sure no other marked ones do a coup. And there's going to be more coming into the school, as well as the ones that are still here, because they're first years and second years. So, like, how is he going to leave when he is personally in charge of making sure all of them stay on the straight and narrow? I don't understand any of this.
What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules?
We cut to a classroom where, once again, the classroom is being used as a backdrop for them to have a mental conversation about how much they want to do each other but can't fall in love. Is this just going to be what this book is now? Just mental conversation after mental conversation about how horny they are but how they can't fall in love with each other? Well, apparently there's a last exercise of the war games before graduation, which is just in a throwaway line in this class that she's barely listening to. I want the version of this book that is about the dragons and dragon school. Like, there's got to be an alternate dimension where someone wrote this book without the focus on the horny romance, and we just focus on the cool dragons and the dragon school and the dragon war and all of that stuff. I want that book. Somebody go to another dimension and find it for me. We cut to later that night where they're supposed to, I guess, turn up in the courtyard. But we have to have several paragraphs talking about what she and Rhiannon are wearing to this thing. Who the fuck is Nadine? I heard there's going to be a mob of infantry guys there, Nadine says as she joins us. Who's Nadine, Nigel? Where did she come from?
Nadine's just pretend. If she's pretend, how come you said you could see it? I lied.
Here's another instance where you don't need forward. You did not try to leave without me, Liam shouts as he runs forward, darting through the crowd as we move toward the staircase that leads to Basingath's main campus. And get rid of the forward. Liam shouts, darting through the crowd as we move toward the staircase. What? The forward does nothing. It doesn't tell you what direction he's going. You get that later. The forward does nothing. I know. Pet peeve of mine. So there's a big party tonight with all sorts of people from other quadrants, and we find out that they have infantry, which I didn't even know existed until now. I pretty much thought their entire military was dragon-based from what we never hear about any other type of military. And of course everybody is color-coded because it's super important that you be color-coded so that people can cosplay more easily. Honestly, her relationship with Liam, her friendship with Liam, who was lest we forget, forced to become her friend, is the deepest relationship she really has with anybody, besides, obviously, hot enemy boyfriend. But she's actually having a conversation. She's had multiple conversations with Liam, and they're at the party right now, and, like, everybody's glaring at Liam because he's one of the marked ones, and she's, like, taking his arm and being very protective of him, and being like, if you want to leave, you can. There's no other marked ones here. All of them stayed home tonight. And he's like, no, I'm staying with you. And it's like, honestly, that's the kind of, like, relationship, friendship that I really like in a story. So obviously, I'm biased, but it's the only one that seems like it has any kind of basis. Because they have had conversations before, and they have built up a friendship, and we've seen them do it. Versus her and Rhiannon, they just, like, get along, and they snark with each other. But we don't see any deep conversations. We went to see Rhiannon's family and we didn't even get to meet them. I don't know where I'm going with this except for that this author can write meaningful friendships and just doesn't most of the time. Liam is here with her enduring this deeply uncomfortable situation for him and staying at her side even though the king, who is responsible for the death of Liam's parents, and the general, Violet's mother, who was also responsible for the death of Liam's parents, are walking up to them, and he still refuses to leave. And I'm like, Liam is the best, and Xaden can go suck an egg. Like, fuck Xaden. I hate him. This author is really interested in showing characters' emotion through what their jaws are doing. Like, his jaw flexes. I don't know how you flex your jaw, but he does. And that's fine, but everybody does it. Like, nobody has other ways of showing discomfort that are distinct to their character. They all do the jaw thing. So she's thinking about Xaden, because of course she is. And she's thinking about what an awesome guy he is. He believed me when I told him that Amber had let the unbondeds into my room. He had an entire arsenal of daggers crafted just for me. He designed a saddle for Tarn, so I can ride into battle with my peers. He protected me when I needed to be taught to defend myself, so I wouldn't require protection forever. Maybe if you hadn't pushed the other guy away, he would have done those things. You're fine with Xaden making gestures and protective moves on you, but when your other boy did it, no, that was bad. By the way, other boy is so much not in the story anymore that I forgot his name. It's been a couple weeks since I read this, and he has not really come up. That love triangle didn't last very long. Oh yeah, Dane, here he is. Dane Atos. So, like, is there a rule that they can't hide their marks? Because Liam's is on his wrist, and everybody keeps looking at his wrist. And if I was hit, like, is he not allowed to wear gloves or something that would hide them, or extra long sleeves? Or does he have to have them visible? And if he has to have them visible, why were they given to the people and where a lot of them, like, it's always peeking over the top of collars and stuff like that. So they're not in very visible places, and yet they are in visible places. And I just don't know why they couldn't just hide them and save himself the trouble. Because the only reason people recognize him as a marked one is because his mark keeps showing. Once they are away from the party, she tells Liam to leave her because she's going to go find Xaden, and this time Liam just does. He would endure that horrible party for her, but if she says, leave me alone, I gotta go find my boyfriend, he's like, okay, cool. So, of course, Xaden is having big boy feelings about tonight, and she finds his friends / cousin Bodhi and Garrick, and they're like, you don't want to go see him, and she's like, yes I do, don't tell me what to do, you're not my real dad. So she's gonna go and see about his big boy fifis, and it's probably gonna be very dramatic. And she goes to go find him. She has to cross the parapet to do so, because apparently he's on the other side. Sure, whatever. But that is the end of that chapter. So we have dropped all pretenses that this is about, like, dragons and war. I don't even know what her dragons are doing right now. It's gone full romance book with a party where they dress up in pretty clothes, and then she's got to go find her boyfriend who's having big sad emotions, and she's got to comfort him in his big sad emotions. I'll be back for the next chapter, probably in a little bit. Or maybe right away. I don't know. I think I do need to get some more tea, so I'll see you then. Alright, took a little break, went to walk the doggy, and we are back, and my tea is steeping, so we'll have to go get it in a second, but we're on chapter 32. As for 107 innocents, the children of the executed officers, they now carry what shall be known as a rebellion relic, transferred by the dragon that carried out the king's justice. And to show the mercy of our great king, they will be conscripted into the prestigious Riders' Quadrant at Basquiath, so they may prove their loyalty to our kingdom with their service or with their death. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna go see about super sad boy, Xaden.
We have childhood traumas just like you, 'cause fit hot guys have problems too.
You know, Xaden's off being an emotional wreck. But Liam kept it together. He went to the party. He was the only one there who was a marked one. And he was enduring all of the glares and all of the stares to be a loyal, good friend. So she's wearing a skirt, because of course she is, and it's like a sexy slitted skirt. But the wind on the parapet catches her skirt, and I'm like, girl, gird your loins.
To gird one's loins in a ball gown, first hitch the fabric of your skirt up to your knees, then gather all the skirt material in front of you, pass it between your legs, divide it in two, bring it around to the front and not in front of your waist. You will look like you're wearing a brightly coloured nappy, but hey, one can't be too picky when one is being attacked by baddies.
Oh my god, he is being as, like, stereotypically emo sad boy as he possibly can. He's like halfway across, like standing on the bridge, staring at the moon. Like, dark silhouette, all sad and emotional and dramatic. She's like, he's taking care of all these other people, but who takes care of him? Oh my goodness, cry me a river. You know, everyone across the ravine is celebrating his father's death, and he's out here mourning it alone. He made his friends go away. He is not alone. He has a cousin, he has friends, but he didn't want them. So it's not like he's out here alone because he doesn't have anybody. He's out here alone because he wanted to be as dramatic as possible. The last time I stood here, I was terrified, but the distance to the ground isn't what has my pulse pounding now. There's more than one way to fall. You know, she points out all of these things that are things that make me, like, believe that they would be together. And then she points out the thing that I don't understand why they would be together. So she says, it's not an infatuation, or our physical chemistry, or even the bond between our dragons that keeps me reaching in every way possible for this man. It's my reckless heart. But I'm like, actually, if you think about it, if you put aside infatuation, horniness, and the fact that your dragons are bonding you together magically, why do you like him? What about him makes you want to be with him besides those things? Because I can't think of anything. She didn't do anything about her skirt, by the way. She's just going out here with the skirt. She doesn't try to hitch it up or make sure it doesn't catch the wind in any way. She just does a big love declaration, very dramatic up there with the wind whipping around them. They have a whole conversation where she's like, so you aren't also sleeping with Imogen? And he's like, no, thank God. I was so concerned about that. This is just a romance chapter. There's really nothing to report. It's just being in love on a parapet. I'll let you know if anything actually happens. At least she's right about this. He wants to stay out here and wallow. Correct. And he wants to look real badass while he does it, which is why he's standing on the parapet. He wants to wallow and feel like Batman at the same time. So she talks him down from his brooding on the parapet, and she's taking him back to his bedroom. All right, so I've been reading a lot. There's not that much to report. She takes him back to his room. At first it seems like maybe they're just gonna have a cuddle and just have like a sweet moment, but of course it turns horny because this is the book we're reading. And that's all I have to report. Romance, 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 horny. Again, this author really likes tongue kissing and describing tongue kissing. And now we get a detailed description of him giving her a blowjob. I don't need it, thank you. I'm not even sex repulsed, but just listening to sex being described, not my thing. Allosexuals, I guess, if this does it for you, but I've read sex scenes that I didn't dislike. But this one is not for me. That's gross. Again, if this is your thing, this is your thing. I'm not gonna yuck your yum, but this is gross. He kisses her after giving her the blowjob, and she says, I can taste both of us in it. Aloes, please tell me, is that hot? Oh my god, this is just a sex. This entire chapter is just sex. Well, okay, we had the bit on the parapet where he was being a broody boy, but now it's just sex. She throws out an I love you while they're doing it. I'm sure that's meaningful to someone. Also, every time she comes, there is lightning strikes all around. And there are people having a party outside somewhere, so I'm wondering how many people she's accidentally killed already. By the way, this man, again, has just the best he's the ideal man that every woman longs for because his stamina is unparalleled. They are on her orgasm number 5, and he's still going strong. But in the middle of attempt number 5, they are interrupted by Garrick, who has come to report that a lot of people are dead, which immediately I was like, oh, you killed them with your orgasm lightning. But no, I think there's been an attack, and Xaden's regiment is being called up. Okay, they're under attack. He says, we're under attack. So thank goodness that chapter's over and we might get some action because, besides, sexy times action, because 2 chapters of just nothing but the romance plot is 2 chapters too much for me. And I'll see you for the next one.
So before we get to the next chapter, I just wanted to bitch about something with you all. I recently learned, as of today, as of editing, that yes, a lot of the names of places and dragons in this book are actually Scottish Gaelic words that the author used but cannot pronounce herself. That's the first thing. I fully expect reading a fantasy book that I'm going to mispronounce some things, and I fully expect that people reading my fantasy book will mispronounce some things, but I'm okay with that. We'll get to that in a minute. But the author herself doesn't even know how to pronounce them, nor do the audiobook readers, so clearly 0 effort was put in with these people's language. And the reason that it makes me so mad is because this tells me that she did not do this out of respect or trying to do anything with the mythology of the culture or the culture itself. No interest in that for world building aspects. I think she just literally went online and looked up word meanings and was like, I like all of these things. And it's did you know? When you're writing fantasy, you can just make stuff up. All of the place names in Adventurer Mage are fucking made up words. They are gibberish. I just started typing letters and then tweaked them around until they were a word that I liked. Did you know there are websites where you can go get fantasy names and fantasy place names where a algorithm will do the rearranging of letters for you? You do not need to steal someone else's language that you clearly do not care about and put it in your book just because you think it seems edgy or cool. It's clear, very clear to me that she just went online and was like, names that mean blank. And then she found some, and she's like, oh, I want to have this trend where I name all the dragons and places with Scottish Gaelic names. Will I learn to pronounce them? Will I do anything respectfully? Absolutely not. Remember, authors, when you are using real existing words, languages, and cultures in your books, that you're gonna get caught if you're doing it lazy. You're gonna get caught if you're doing it disrespectful. So I recommend the easiest thing in the world, make shit up.
Hi, hello, we're back. It's a different day, but this is a short chapter. I haven't got a lot of time today, but I'll fit in these chapters when I can. Chapter 33, the inability to control a powerful signet is just as dangerous to a rider and everyone in their vicinity as never manifesting one. Okay, that's from Major Afrenda's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant. But we are under attack. Things are finally happening. Look how far we are in this book. We might actually get some dragon battles in this dragon book. That would be great if that would happen. So they're rushing out, and of course she's wearing a dress, so he's heroically throwing a jacket over her lest she get cold. I would die laughing and die happy, quite frankly, if the reason that the wards fell here is because of their sex. If her, like, lightning bolts broke the wards, that would fulfill me on a level I don't think I've ever thought of before. But it's not going to be the case. They have women's pockets in this world. That's the stupidest element. Like, it's a throwaway element and it's so dumb. Why did the author decide that they needed to do that? So she's wearing his jacket, because obviously he threw it over her, and she's putting her knives, like, into his jacket, and she mentions how his jacket pockets are deeper than the pockets on her jacket. Why would that be in this universe? Why would the women in the dragon fighting society naturally end up with shitty girl pockets? The way to make your fantasy more accessible is not to make it dumber. Of course, we have to take a break when she reunites with her friends for them all to comment on that she's wearing his jacket, and we have to have like a lengthy exchange about her wearing his jacket. We're under attack, but no, the romance is still the most important part. Oh, I guess this isn't a real attack. This is just a training exercise? Yep, it's a training exercise. It's the last event of the war games. I hate this. This book made me excited for a minute that something was happening. I hate you, Fourth Wing. Romance, 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 chunks of romance with nothing. We've forgotten that the dragons even exist. They were just a means for her to get with this boy and for her to get magical powers. They don't matter. The dragons don't fucking matter in this book with dragons on the cover. The correct cover for this book would be one of those romantic-y covers with the girl and the guy, and then in the background maybe there's a dragon. And then we finally seem like we're gonna get some sort of plot moving in this little last portion of the book, and it's not. It's just another training exercise.
Flames on the side of my face.
The fake scenario that they are in, that he reads out to them now that they realize that this is just an exercise, is that all the wards have fallen, they're under attack from multiple sides, and the dragon riders must deploy. Wouldn't it be more fun if that was actually for real happening? So she does get to go to her room and put on her real clothes, so the entire point of the jacket was that so her friends could ooh and ah, and she could admit that she's having sex with Xaden, and everybody could be like, ooh hoo hoo, are you having the best sex ever? And she's like, yeah, I am. And then also so that her friends could like hide the fact that it's Xaden's jacket from Dane, so Dane doesn't freak out. Although she does take it with her, so like maybe it's gonna be a plot point later, just she's gonna have to disguise herself as Xaden. Rhiannon is pretty sure they're going to win this graduation scenario. I don't know how you win. I don't even know how they're gonna like simulate Griffin attacks. Are other dragon riders gonna come in pretending to be attacking Griffins, and then more people can kill each other, further weeding out this already small army? But at the last minute, Xaden comes marching up like the big swinging dick that he is, and he tells Dane that he's taking Violet and Liam and Imogen, best character, with him and his squadron, actually. But Xaden's basically like, I don't have to explain myself to you, second year, you filthy peasant. My dragon and her dragon can't be separated because convenience in the plot says so. So she has to come with me. The boys have a little pissing contest over her. So once again, we boil this scenario not down to tactics, not down to the situation at hand, but to the romance. So this is the moment where she officially has to be like, Dane, I'm not interested in you. I'm with Xaden. We are a couple, and I'm going with him. And it's like, it's just so frustrating to me that like everything in this book is there to serve the romance. Everything. Can't we have some plot that isn't there just for the romance? Yeah, that's the end of the chapter. She's like, I'm going with Xaden. Even though they were both fighting over her like she was an object, and if I was her, I would have been a little bit mad about that, but she doesn't care about that. She's like, boys, stop fighting. I like this one. I picked this one, and I'm going with him, okay? And that's the end of the chapter. Don't love it, but that's what we got. I'll see you for the next chapter. Hi, hello, it's nighttime. That is why I look like a supervillain with my face half cast in shadow. Chapter 34. The first known Griffin attack occurred in 1 AU after Unification, near what is now the trading post of Russin, at the edge of the dragon-protected border. The post has always been vulnerable to attack. Over the course of the past 6 centuries has changed hands no less than 11 times, in what has become a never-ending war to secure the borders from our power-hungry enemies. Who are the power-hungry enemies? Who knows? But they have griffins. Are they on this continent, or are they on different continents? What are they called? Is there just one other nation trying to, like, take your territory, or multiple people trying to do that? Did you steal any territory from them? It's just unimportant. And I know that this is not trying to be a super dense fantasy book, but you can include details like that to build your world without making it into a super dense fantasy book. I think from that we're meant to get that, like, as soon as the unification happened, the Griffin attacks started happening. I still don't even really know who's riding on the Griffins. If the Griffins need riders, do the Griffin riders have magic? Just details. I don't even know how these Griffins are taking down dragons. It's just, I have no idea why our main character thought her sister was in danger during the Griffin attack, because I don't know how Griffins attack. Her dragon Tern has made a little, like, hook harness on his chest for his child, his little baby who wants to tag along everywhere, which isn't obnoxious or anything. I don't know what the rest of the baby dragons are doing, presumably just staying home and not doing this. He has attached a hook to himself, and so she, mid-flight, she got tired and hooked onto him, and then she's asleep by the time they reach their destination. And I'm just picturing a dragon wearing one of those baby, like, holsters, I guess. I don't know. I don't have children. I won't know the word for it, but, you know, a baby wrap, essentially. I feel like the author really ruined the metaphor of the little dragon by having her turn out to be a baby, and soon she will be big and powerful, just like the other dragons, because we had the main character being like, she's little, she's defenseless, I have to help her, she's like me, but, like, she's not like you, she's just a baby. Are we implying that you're just a baby and this isn't even your final form and you're gonna be big and cool someday? Because I thought we were saying that this is you now. You are small, you are maybe weaker than the others, but that's okay, you can be cool in your own way. But no, it's like you just wait long enough and you'll be like everybody else. It's a confusing metaphor that you've made. So for some reason for this war exercise, they're not having them practice within the bounds of, like, the wards at some specially set up fortresses, but they're going outside of the wards to some fortresses for this exercise. Now, I shouldn't be surprised that it's dumb, and yet here I am. Like, you've established that this is a training exercise, so why are you holding this last big training exercise in such a way as you could get your trainees attacked by actual bad guys? It's like you don't want anyone to become a dragon rider. Is that going to be the twist? That they're just trying to kill off dragon riders entirely? Like, the people who are dragon riders now don't want there to be any more, and so they just made up this school system that is so ridiculously dumb that all of them will just be killed off. A thick forest of trees I would imagine it's of trees. You could just say a thick forest, as we generally know that if you say that, you probably mean that it's a forest of trees. If it's a forest of something else, presumably you would tell us. I still, like, she doesn't even wonder if the dragon can sense her having sex. Like, even if she wondered it and then dismissed it, or wondered it and then was like, no, I'm blocking him out, that would be satisfactory enough for me. But she has given zero thought to whether her dragon can tell when she's having crazy, wild, magic-causing sexy times. All of a sudden, this character, who hasn't given a lick of thought to these war games, is very anxious about them. Like, she has, I am not kidding, not thought about these war games at all. We've heard about them in the background. Other characters have been talking about them, but she has been concerned about nothing except for Xaden Dick for chapters and chapters and chapters. We had lead up to that weird obstacle course situation, but there was no lead up to this because this is unimportant to the author. The only reason that we care about it now is that we're in it, and this book has to have some kind of climax besides, you know, the sexy time kind. And of course she looks at Xaden and is instantly horny again. Then Xaden does a public display of affection, much to her shock and pleasure. We do not care about this war game. They stop for a little break, by the way, so he can hold her hand. So then he pulls her out off to the side behind a boulder so he can give her a leg massage. And I'm like, oh my god, is this going to be the end of the book? It's just more romantic fluff? Look how little book we have left. Can we please do something? The dragons could be cars at this point. You know what's way more fun than like watching this newly minted couple be horny for each other over and over again, give a leg massage? You know what's more fun? Watching how cool they can be as a couple in battle. That's something you can do in a fantasy book where you can be like, I can watch my OTP kick bad guy ass together, and they look so good doing it. Like, one of my absolute favorite moments in season 1 of The Wheel of Time, there is this one Aes Sedai and her 2 warders. They are my dream throuple. They are amazing. I will kill and die for them. And there's a moment where they just like are working together so seamlessly in a fight, and I was just like screaming because it's so good. We could have that. But instead, it's just more, oh, he looked at me. Oh, now he's massaging out my legs. He's so sexy. I have no idea how these two would be in battle. I've never seen it. One of the reasons I enjoyed the book, A Far Wilder Magic, review right here on this channel, is that I could see what a good pair the main couple would make, not just romantically, but in general. They had to be a team. You were rooting for them because you wanted to see them become this awesome 2-person team that could win the day. I have none of that from this book, and it's all set up that it could be. It could be that. Their dragons can communicate with each other. They can communicate telepathically with each other. There's so much opportunity to have so many amazingly cool moments where they are a dynamic duo, and we're not interested in that, and I don't understand.
Part of me does wonder, and this is pure speculation on my part, I want to make that clear. Pure speculation, but Rebecca Yarros is a military wife. She's proud of that fact. And her husband was deployed multiple times within their marriage, at least their relationship. So maybe she just, because her husband is so often not around, doesn't see marriage as a team, doesn't see being married to another person as a partnership. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we never see any of that element come into the relationship between Violet and Xaden. That's one theory that may be a contributing factor. I don't think that's the only factor, but that's just a theory. A book theory.
Oh, good. More thorough description of tongue kissing. So they kiss for like 2 pages, but finally something happens and they're interrupted. So they are being approached by a mysterious woman who Violet has not seen because Xaden threw up his shadows already. But the woman has seen her special silver hair, which I think at this point is the only reason that she has silver hair. There's no other reason for her to have that feature aside from to make her special and for this bitch to recognize her this far into the book. Somehow they're so far away from their dragons that she has to like call Tairn to her, and he's not just immediately there. They were all hanging out around a lake so the dragons could have a drink, and she and Xaden went behind a boulder to get makey outy. I didn't think that that was far enough away that the dragon couldn't be there in like 2 steps. There are 2 Griffin riders here, by the way. Maybe 3, I think the woman makes 3, I'm not sure. We don't get any description of the Griffins. We are meant to just know what Griffins look like, except for like their size. They're big enough for humans to ride on. That's all we get. And again, you don't need to go into huge detail describing them, but we would like to know for sure that we are just picturing your bog standard Griffin. So the dragons finally do show up, and she's about to call lightning, but Xaden stops her. I think we're at the part of the book where we have an exciting twist. I am getting a funny mental image, though. The main character is incensed because Xaden, like, grabbed her before she could cast lightning, because of course he knows these people. And then he passes her to Liam, and she says, passes me. Like I'm a damned rucksack, and the mental image is very humorous. So I know she's supposed to be annoyed, and we should probably feel annoyed along with her, but I just have this hilarious image of her just being yeeted into Liam's arms instead. It is a good metaphor for how useless she is. Oh, shock. Oh, goodness. What a shocker. Xaden clearly knows these people, and he says that they're early. And the main character is just shooketh to her core. Let's see how many chapters I have left. Alright, I think I'm going to stop here because I think I finally might be ready to get my cosplay on in time for this exciting reveal and finish up this book. Thank goodness. This, I knew I was going to be disappointed, but I'm more disappointed than I thought I was going to be. Like, I wish I could say, you know what, if you're in the mood for like a romantasy, you could do worse than this, but you could do a lot better as well. Probably some indie author who's self-published that you've never heard of has written like something 1,000 times better than this. And they're just going completely unnoticed because this book got all the hype. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapters looking appropriately snazzy. Who do you think that I am going to cosplay as? I bet you can guess, but leave your guesses in the comments below anyway.
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
What a crazy random happenstance that all my patrons are here. Allow me to list them out for you. I'm going to do it in reverse order this time, just to be different. Sarah, Lisa, Amanda, Jenny, Savvy, Scribbling Cat, Rennie, Jesper, Zaire, Shelby, Ray, Callison, Anne-Sophie, Patrick, Belle, The Unraveled Legion, Light Julie, Hidden Glade, Kit, Merween, Sophia, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Melissa, Afra, Deborah, Rita, Alyssa, Celia, Amanda, Lafone, KJ, Caitlin, Ursula, Robin, Jojo Bookish, Bear, Kirsten, Maria, Mooney, Kohikaro, Kiara, Sam, Haley, Julius the Nice Dragon, Pansing Pony, Roma, Ingrid, Veda, 78 kilograms of shade, Kat, Sarah, Saga, Nico, Sunnyshy, Bird Anonymous, and July. Why was it easier for me to read all their names reading upwards instead of downwards? I am too dyslexic for this world.